Programming a UDP client is very similar to coding a TCP client, with some few differences. So we are going to reuse the port scanner application that we already did in the TCP client demo and add the UDP functionalities to it. Let's start. I will use netcat to execute a UDP server that listens on port 5555 using the following command. The -v argument is for verbose, tag L is for listening, tag Q is for UDP, and finally the tag P is for the port number. Finally, press enter. Next, I will open a new terminal window and execute our UDP port scanner. As you can see, we added the UDP argument to distinguish between the TCP and UDP port scanning. I will switch quickly to netcat and try to send a banner back to the port scanner. Here you go, mission accomplished. The UDP port scanner was able to detect the netcat banner. Now let's jump into the source code and see how it works. This is the same TCP port scanner that we developed earlier with few changes. Here in the main function, I added a boolean UDP argument and pay attention to the end where it says action equal store underscore true. This means that if the UDP argument is supplied, the value will be true. The second change is here that stores the argument value in the isUDP variable. And finally, passing this value to the next port scan function. In the port scan function, scroll down to the for loop. Here I'm checking if a UDP scan is on. If not, then we call the TCP client. If yes, then we call the UDP client. Let's jump to the connection scan UDP function. In the first line, we instantiate the socket object. As usual, the AFI net is for IPv4, but this time we used the socket datagram, which means it's UDP. In the second line, we use the connect function to try to establish a connection with the server by specifying its IP address and the port number that we want to use. If this was successful, we print that the port is open and call the print banner function that we saw in the TCP client demo. If the port is closed, then an exception will be thrown and we print that message to the user.